What's up guys, Ronaldo here and welcome. And today I am not alone, of course. I am today joined by the glorious Fastidious. Welcome, Fasti.
Hello, Ronaldo. Thank you for having me. Excited to do this again.
For sure, for sure. So, for the people that don't know, initially, Fasti and I, we did a tier list or just a little ranking, first impression of reading the kit of each of the new heroes coming to Watch Drop rounds. Now, we did some testing. I did especially a lot of in-depth testing. Fasti did some testing, not about all of them. So about certain heroes, I will go more in-depth than he will. But he has a good understanding of all the heroes. And now with that testing, we will do a re-ranking on actually where we believe every single hero belongs.
Sounds good to me, man.
And starting off is with someone that I have been surprised the most, right? By far. I said it, remember when we said during your video, I need to test our boy Xaris, if he can work for Gear Dungeon 2, Stage 10 to get rid of the Magic Volca clones. And well, let me tell you that. This man just blasts these single target clones away as if they're nothing as an AoE mage. He just blasts them away.
Crazy.
And he can replace Hex in a way, which is stupid, just to think about it. On top of that, his AoE arena team, he's gonna be an absolute menace and a threat to Ingrid's throne. Let me tell you that. I already tested him against Ingrid. And he won, and he can be combined in arena with the likes of Ingrid to get even stronger defenses. It's brutal. This man is way stronger. I know a lot of people thought he's gonna be mid, but he is crazy. And when you asked me, right, about the let's test him for Gear Dungeon 2 as well, you said, oh, but make him A1, right, to see if he works. But I tested him at A0 and he easily cleared it without that A1.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah, I think basically when you first read his kit, it doesn't feel that exciting, but once it sinks in and you realize he's kind of like he's the kind of hero you cycle in and out, you know, like another hero, Xena, we're going to talk on this list, or like Amani, some heroes like that. So for content where you can do that, he's crazy because he nearly insta ults, right? Yeah, no, he's just an amazing cycle hero. He gets worse. He has got that thing in his kit where basically the quantity of summons he's able to do from his ultimate decreases every time you do it. But it's 4 to start, and on that first initial deployment, it's 3. So the first one's 7. But yeah, if you kept him out there, the next one you'd have 3, which is a little bit less exciting. But if you cycle him out, bring him back, it's 4 every time, which is, as you're describing, plenty. Right? It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, he hits. I don't have words. I'll have a video. You'll see it yourself. It is disgusting, and he jumps up the ranking here, up to rank 3 for now.
Awesome.
Now you want to go with the next one?
Yeah, I want to say one thing about Xaris. I wonder though, and we probably won't even be able to test it. We'll have to see once he comes to global. But I wonder this because people will cycle him in and out for AoE Arena unless they just win the match immediately. It'll be interesting how that holds up on the defense, you know, in terms of like the AI and the auto.
You won't cycle him. You will have enough time.
Basically,
really? The way you are gonna use him in Arena is first up you can. He has a very low cost, which is nice, right? So you have kind of 2 ways. You either deploy him immediately or you deploy him delayed, right? Delayed, so he takes care of the later stages that are harder to deal with, of course. Or you deploy him immediately and just damage the opponent from the start, right? And if you do so, you kind of want to delay your timing. So the first waves you get away with these 3 summoned souls. So you're not going to pop your ult until these guys disappear. And then you're going to pop your ult to delay the ults, right?
Yeah.
To delay that reduced souls. And then you get going and continue and continue. And
yeah, and it's not like the fight will be that long. That makes a lot of sense.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's nice.
He just shreds the first wave one after another.
Very cool.
You want to go over Talula?
Oh, yeah, this will be the controversial one. We can talk about Talula. I watched your whole video on it. If you guys watched the original video we did together, doing these initial rankings you're seeing, we were dubious. And after watching your video, I'm very dubious. To me, she is a normal Dasami. Honestly, you're going to talk about something I know that I think is going to make her slightly higher than my gut on this list because she's got some nice PvP capability. But all in all, the way I see it, the only way you're getting consistent cleansing is with another healer. You can really, if people go watch, people should go watch. I mean, you're watching this, you probably saw it, but go watch Ronaldo's video. It's clear as day. And the butterflies are really random and inconsistent where they choose to land. And the uptime you're getting on the reductions, even during the ult when the forest spirit's doing adjacent allies as well, it's not reliable at all for the reduction in the rage regen. It's a nice little bonus, but to act like it's a key part of the kit, the way like Fasti has constant AoE damage reduction, the way Element has constant global rage regen, that she's not it. She's like the super light version. Also, from watching your video, correct me if I'm wrong, the heals did not look big. So to me, she looks like a decent okay healer with some really nice support capability with good cleansing, and then a couple other little bonuses sprinkled in.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, right? Did I say the word saying right? Maybe I'm not
You
the
nailed
best.
it, yeah.
Okay,
No pun
good.
intended. You nailed
Perfect. No,
it.
but yeah, she tries to do too much. Huh? Young lady, just focus on what you're good at, and that's cleansing. But that the whole point you said right about the damage reduction and the rage regen is it's so right. It's not that consistent. You can't get away with her damage reduction to say, oh,
No
I'll
way.
use her instead of Fasti. That does not work. It's not consistent. It's
But,
3 units at random, and during
yeah.
her ult, it's mostly the most of your lineup.
Yeah. That's the key thing, right? During her ult, it's mostly the most. Theoretically, you could have 10 units in Guild Boss 2 and the butterflies could land in exactly the right spots that everyone gets it. But that is like such a low probability thing. And we both know, and all you guys that have done Guild Boss 2 runs, especially long Apocalypse 2 Guild Boss 2 runs, these runs take 10, 20, 30 minutes, even longer if you go for a really big number, right? And to have your run, this is what's going to happen if people try to rely on her damage reduction as opposed to like a Pharisee or even like an Aelin, is it's going to keep not landing in the right spot just that one time, and that one wrong person gets wiped and the run's over, right?
100%. And that's also the thing with the butterflies, right? The thing is really what Fasti touched on is that you have good cleansing, but these butterflies need to jump around. You have 3 butterflies, you have 10 heroes that need cleansing, right? And the butterfly only switches target once a hero is max healed. And her heals are not as high of a burst healing that they immediately swap around, jump around, and get everyone cleansed immediately. It can take some time, which is a bit of an issue as well. And she is strong for the cleansing, but other than that, the other things, it's only really someone in the comment section made a good point. GVG, where that damage reduction and that rage regeneration is gonna be a blessing, a woodland blessing, one might say.
Nice. Yeah, I'll say when we talked about this right before filming, we had a phone call this morning, and I was like, I wanted to put her 7th, like second to lowest on this list. And what you convinced me for PvP, like in arena, even, but definitely in GVG, where like really it's like one guy at a time taking damage. This is gonna be awesome. It's like guaranteed uptime on the rage regen, on the healing, on the rage regen, healing, damage reduction, all the things you want, right? And if you get her A3, then it's like really significant rage regen. You know, you're then you're 2/3 of Eloin rage regen. That's like, or no, because is it per second? Can you click on it really fast? That goes up to 2%. It's an extra. Oh yeah, it's an extra percent per second. So it's 2% per second, and it's basically the butterfly will stay on that ally getting whacked the whole time. So if you had like a broke here, you could be shield cycling like insane, right? So that's really exciting. So I think that's a great shout by you. And If you find whoever said that in the comment section, that's really cool. Yeah, but basically what I would say about Tallulah, and this is I think the best thing about her, honestly, based on your testing and what everyone else seems to be thinking, and other, I know Destin did some playing with her and was talking about it. I think she might be like a common bucket legendary. I think she might not be that rare, which is pretty exciting, right? So even if she's not the promised Element 2.0, which was very, would have been the nicest thing ever. If she was a better Eloin, you would think she'd be exceedingly rare. I would guess she's going to be as rare as like a Farseer and Ezrein,
Now,
which is nice.
what you guys also need to consider here, poor woman, honestly, poor woman. She is not bad, don't get us wrong. From tier wise, I'd say tier 0, 1 to 4th place, tier 1, 5th and 6th, tier 2, 7th place, and tier 3 is going to be 8th place throughout this list. But the problem with her is really, her cleansing is good, it's just she's getting compared to the best legendary in the game.
Yeah.
She's suffering from Eloin's success. That's just how it is.
I do want to mention, I sincerely do think for cleansing, Dasami is better, and he has inspiration, stuff like that. But keep in mind, he's a really rare, ancient exclusive hero, right? So she's like an accessible version of that, I think. And then, like you said, in PvP, could be really exciting.
And if you don't have Eloin, she still stays up there, right? If you do have Eloin,
if you don't have Eloin and Dasami.
Yeah, okay, fair, yeah. But she definitely has some things going for her. Then let's go over Maw. Maw stays 8th place. Any
But move him to 9th.
All right.
No. So one thing we didn't talk about that to me, we already, watched the video. We said this guy's like mid. He's not terrible. He's mid, but he's clearly the worst on this list. I actually think he is terrible. Can you go to his kit very quickly, Ronaldo? There's one key thing we both missed. I don't know if you know what I'm gonna say. It's so bad. He has one block.
He has one block.
He has one block. He's a fighter with that's pretty useless. The only thing you could argue is maybe he's like a legendary gluttony, even though in that video we already said we think he's worse than gluttony. He has one block.
He is worse than gluttony, actually. Damn.
Well, already we thought he was worse. He is way worse. He's useless with one block. What's he good for?
The epic version of gluttony right there.
Okay. He's the rare version of gluttony.
Yeah. Poor fella. So yeah, last place to Maw. Let's not waste too much time on this man. Xena, I think, is going to be an interesting one that you know a lot of, right?
I really like Xena. I very lightly tested her myself, but I watched Destin's whole video, which is really good if people want to watch it. I'll have a Xena video hopefully next week. She's just hits insanely hard, and she's basically, if you like Amani, she's like the fighter, super legendary version of Amani. Just cycle her. I do wish she had like an A2 or 3 or 4 that reduced her deployment time, like Amani does, like minus 20 seconds or 30 seconds. I think Amani is minus 25. But aside from that, it's constant burning. She hits super hard. She's got all these nice little passives that's like, hey, for the first chunk of time she's out, she's so good. Like you can see here in the talent already when deployed, as opposed to Xaris with the extra summons when first deployed. This is just every time you deploy her. She's just like she's like a nuke. She's like a little tactical burning magic fighter infernal nuke. She's awesome. I think people that get her and are progressing and are just adopting like a Laurel strat for Guild Boss 1, she's going to be like the best hero in the game to cycle. You know how you're going to have like Laurel, maybe like a Volca or a Lord you don't use on the field, really, like a Wrath, and then there's a third unit you have to cycle. She's going to put out crazy damage even not being on the field that long.
Yeah, she's also a monster for the epilogue stages, such as the Saurian stage that many people are struggling on, right? So
yeah,
just very strong. Only downside is really that on Semra the redeployment times get longer and longer, which makes her not really viable there. But Guild Boss 1, she hits like a truck, and overall everywhere you'll use her, she just comes in.
She is not a Semra champ. It would be if you were like an early account that just lacked options and you wanted to run an Infernal team because you had Zeal 2 or something, then she works. But like, yeah. But aside from that, she's pretty. I think she's a very exciting hero.
What you could argue is you could try and make her work by just putting her in the later stages of Semra, where you need that extra damage, and then just for one more shield stage to get through it, just use her, because your team
Yeah, you
already
could,
dead.
once you hit like 45, if you ever had a pretty good team, once you hit like 45, 50, then that's the first deploy, and you use her for like the next 2 or 3 shield rounds. Maybe. That'd be pretty crazy, but maybe. But certainly yeah, she won't work in GVG, obviously, right? Because she'll stay out there the whole time. Probably people will find light use in PvP. She might be really good if you just want to like burst down at the beginning and get an early lead in arena. I could see her working even for AoE because the damage is gonna be so good, but certainly for single target. But definitely, like, you could see her being like really nice, sporadically dropping in Gear Aid 1. She's gonna be fantastic as well, like Xaris in Gear Aid 5, and I think she's gonna be amazing in Guild Boss 1.
100% Gear Dungeon 2 or Gear Aid 5, like you said, she's gonna be
Yeah.
a superstar as well. And maybe even Gear Dungeon 1, I'm not sure. I would have to test that. Xaris is a monster there, of course. But
There's a chance. There's a chance in Gear Dungeon 1 if you
there
had
is
the
a
time to
chance.
cycle her.
If
Certainly,
you,
if you're doing like a really sweaty strategy where like on like a later one you just needed one burst, like the way some people use Cerberus, like she could be even better because you just put her behind someone with the giant range. It's pretty good.
100%, 100%. Now, she will drop though, unfortunately, down here. And someone who is gonna move up, let's just talk about him as my
Yeah.
goat right there, Yasuo. Now, Yasuo, or Kirigi, or Kigiri,
Kigiri.
a man of many names for sure.
It's funny. Both of us in my video the whole time said it wrong, and then you said you watched Destin's video and he said it wrong the whole video too.
Yeah, it's
But but it's Kigiri. We need to train ourselves.
Kigiri. Okay, got it. Now I did the most, maybe, sorry, I did more testing. Actually, no, I think he is the one I did the most testing on. I put him in AMR, in everything, everywhere. And man, we talked about it. It's hard to really place him without testing him, as he has such a unique kit. But first up, Guild Boss 2 Zemra, he is a monster. He's a very, very good hero. Not just because he hits hard. Does he hit as hard as someone else on that list that we're going to talk about? No. Does he hit as hard as Arrogance at A0? Let's talk about A0 here. No. He has strong awakenings. We're not going to go too much about them. You can hit me with them. But what he does have, and that's the big thing, is that dispels one buff. And it will come. And that dispelling is huge. And him dealing damage and dispelling is just, it's a blessing. He really is amazing for it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's our second dispel hero, and it might seem lame that it's like only one buff, but you'll be able to keep it really low. I think probably consistently at 0, especially with even just a decent amount of attack speed to get some triggers. I want to say, can you click on the ultimate? This is
You'll
something
have it at
I'm
0.
Yeah, this is something that we miss. So like you see how he bursts forward, if he's ever gonna do it. Geez, you gonna burst forward, and then he bursts back with the other hit. So in my head, at least when we originally talked about it, I don't know about for you. I thought he would like burst forward, come back to where he was, and then if he hit the chance to hit the extra hit, he would burst backwards from the starting spot. But obviously, as you can see, and like you've tested now, so you know, and viewers corrected me in the comments, being like, "You're probably reading that wrong." Is he bursts forward and then he bursts backward from that forward landing spot. So you're still hitting all the heroes, all the enemies you want to hit, which is pretty nice.
And the other thing that I thought of is he has a low cost and he has a big nuke on his ultimate. So naturally, I thought there's another guy who has a low cost and a big nuke on his ultimate. So I took this man to single target arena, and he performs very, very well there. Very
Really?
well, yes. He hits very hard with his ult, and without his ult even as well. He's not going to be as good as a finisher as Salazar, as he will need to wait until he gets hit to use his ultimate, right? And whereas Salazar just immediately pops, he's the fastest at killing them all. And his Salazar's ult is a bit of a bigger nuke, but he is good for nightmare teams. And he's even better for Watcher teams. He's even better for Watcher teams. Because Watcher teams have the better DPS, so you can really just wait with his ult and for the last enemy and just nuke that last enemy with the last DPS. And he works there very well as well. Guild Pass 2, like I said, is kind of his
time to shine.
Time to shine as well. And also, overall, just I don't know what to say. It's you have anything to say about him?
Yeah, well, I'd say two things. We haven't talked about the bleed, which I think helps make him so good in Guild Boss 2, but also a really good hero for progression. And guys, this is going to be like the free limited 250 hero. So like if you can get the 250 summons, you're guaranteed him, right? So bleed will help a ton of people progress through Guild Boss 1, which is really exciting. And then I would want to say the other thing. What was I going to say? Give me one second.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I remember. The other thing, actually, though, was a question for you. When you use him in single target, because he needs to get hit to parry, so like you're not putting him behind anybody, you have him taking the damage, and you were bringing a healer, or what was the strategy there?
I brought a healer and let him take the damage. Yes.
And he was able to just stay up. It was enough.
If you have good enough DPS, yeah. If you have not good enough DPS, for your Siren is gonna die as well, right? But you can build him full damage and he will survive.
Okay. Yeah, I think he's going to be... this is what a limited hero should be. He's not going to be the single best hero in the game, but he's super good. And he's going to help a ton of people.
100%. I heard his awakenings are insane. But just for some controversy, because this man right here was called mid and surprised me so much, I'll have him at the same spot as Kigiri for now. They're both...
Who called him mid? We didn't call him mid.
We didn't, but I know some people said he's mid.
Yeah.
We didn't.
I will say,
I did some testing. He was the only one I tested already before our video, right? So I knew some things.
I will say, and it's your tier list. I'll probably end up saying this a second time in this video too. It's your tier list, so I'm not going to tell you the rankings at all. Personally, I would put Kigiri ahead of Xaris. Just in terms of the scope of like the most important content, I see Kigiri helping than like a normie player with, which is most important.
Fair. But I think Xaris is very good for Gear Dungeon 2.
For sure.
AMR.
He's good. Yeah.
AMR 22. I don't know if you have tested it, but there's a bench
I
stage.
did a live. Yeah.
And this man
he'd be amazing.
Is amazing for that as well. Yeah, you can put both of them higher, right? I just want some controversy here. I want some controversy here. We gotta have him at third place.
Yeah.
And
the point is they're really good. Really good.
And then let's go over the first place.
We can do it. Well, okay. This is... I still would put her at least tied for first, but fair enough.
Bombaklat. There we have it.
Bombaklat.
Bombaklat. Baba is getting replaced here with no one else but Lady Alexandra. I mean, I've tested her and I was just flabbergasted from that, not that figure, but from that damage output she has. It is unreal. It is unreal. Even at A0, she hits like a truck. There's not more that I really want to say. She outdamaged the A0 Arrogance at A0 as well, with a WoR as her lord, and Arrogance with Torador as his lord. Yeah, my reasoning is just she hits like a flipping truck. Absolute monster.
Yeah, in my video with our initial impressions, we both said it was like, this kit reads like she'd hit really hard, but like it sounds like from your testing she hits insanely hard.
On top of that, her ult cost is just so low.
Wow, yeah.
Her uptime is insane. The factions are amazing too. She's another one that will help you guys at Soleil Boss, for sure, if you can get her eventually, before retirement, for sure.
Well, that's one thing I want to say. So you've heard the number 7 months. I've heard the number it was like 15 or 16 months, but like between like half a year and a year and a half is what we're hearing. Also, this is all dependent on the Forerunner version of Apex, the Apex Arena shop, which is something some of you guys might not even know about. Is on Forerunner and is coming, and that's how Lady Alex is going to be available. Um, the key thing, all those calculations, whether it's 7 months or 16 months or somewhere in between, it's assuming you're like getting Overlord every week, and also you're farming efficiently in arena, so you're like always doing your battles, which like we all know a lot of people don't do, and all your battles are in Overlord. That's when you're getting those bigger rewards of the Apex coins or whatever. So I do want to say, I think as it stands now, and it could totally change when it comes to global, I think a lot of people, because by the time you get to Overlord, especially where the game is now and how competitive it's going to get when she becomes available with how good she is, I think a lot of people will never get her. And certainly, I think very few people will have not beaten the Soleil boss, but get her, because the amount it would take. However, and we talked about this off camera, it'd be really cool, and I think they'll do this if they don't reform the shop entirely, which is what honestly I think they should do. Maybe they'll have like events where you can get like the Apex Arena currency as a reward or something. What do you think about that?
I'm certain. I mean, they're always open to feedback. I'm sure they're
Yeah.
not gonna make it that you will have to play on top of your game for 2 years, 1.5 year, whatever,
Yeah.
to just get that hero. I think half a year is a fine number if they can tune it within like that time period. And I heard even 1 month as the number for Apex people, but I mean, Apex people are fast with it, right? But generally, she's about
I would
her.
say as if a normal player that was like, had like beaten their 21s, but maybe is like working on gear dungeons and 50k guild boss and guild boss 2 and stuff. I'd say if it took that player 6 months, I think that's fair, and they
Hmm.
should work from that. So yeah, if the really good players, the Apex guys can get it really fast, I think that's cool and they earned it. But I don't think then like people should be discouraged and be like, hey, I'll never get her,
100%, 100%. And this can be a blessing or a curse. We'll have to find out. Maybe it's a blessing for Arena because it's gonna be way more rewarding, way more competitive, or maybe it's gonna be a curse because I'm not gonna stand a chance against these Valderons and Pratises because I don't have either.
You
Ingrid.
might by the time you get her though.
That's true, that's true. But yeah, I mean, in terms of power, she hits like a truck. She will put this man on second place. Your favorite.
Yeah, Bubba.
Let's talk about him.
Yeah, personally for me, at worst they would be tied, and I probably would still put him on top. I think people are underrating how consistent and constant his inspiration is. So, like, a couple things to consider. There is no Dolores 80% chance you get the boost in rage at the end. There's nothing. He just always has his fixed rage cost, and he's always generating tons of rage. He gets the periodic rage from his basic. You can build him very fast, like 1.0 attack speed, or even faster. He can rage cycle, unlike Dolores, because of that, because you can control his attack speed. You can really get it up and running. And people seem to think it's like, well, you need to get him A2 and this, that to even compete with Dolores. No, like A0, he's like identical to her nearly. He's like 96% her potency with the Tear of Twilight. And of course, that's something you work towards. But in the interim, you can use like a White Tower Trinket or a Keen Wisdom. And yeah, he'll be not as good as Dolores, but close. But on top of that, he's coming with the best slow up time in the entire game, the best AoE magic vulnerability in the entire game. Um, this summoner thing, if Xaris is as exciting as we think he is, we've got all these kind of summoner things being pushed towards us. I think that's going to be a key mechanic and a lot of stuff. I think he's just a really exciting hero. And then the final thing, the range is unbelievable. 3x5, there's almost no map where that isn't just an enormous upgrade over Dolores, right? And a lot of people also kind of think my hype over him is like, all right, we're replacing Dolores. No way. There's going to be plenty of content where you're running an Infernal Squad, or you want that 5 cost as opposed to the 10 costs for Dolores versus Bubba, so on and so on. But he's another option, and I sincerely think for the majority of content that a lot of people are going to be doing, he will be the preferred option because he's bringing so much. I really love him. This is like my favorite hero now. So I really hope I get him and then a couple copies.
I think what you said is very valid, right? Um, he definitely could be first place, huh? Or second, and she could be second place. The good thing about him, really, and I remember when I did my legendary tier list update, right? And that's a big thing that you need to consider about him. getting a glow up once he comes out, is Constance. I put her in God tier. Simply because how valuable inspiration really is. Now, of course, she has the advantage that she's the only ground inspiration buffer. But his range, like you said, that is further than a piercer's than a marksman range. Right? That's a piercer with a piercer lord right there. And
it's like it's Nyx's range.
And the thing
with the Lord.
That what I from the testing and thought process was like, okay, same. I go back to epilogue because it's one of the hardest things in the game, and there you see it's the same thing when people ask me, oh, how do I do Soleil, right? I'm like, okay, do you have Constance? No. And then I'm like, now forget it. Because you need 2 Invig buffers to get through Soleil.
Yeah.
Unless you have a cracked out account with a bunch of awakenings, okay, you got
like
me there.
Like an A1 Soul Cadence or something. Yeah, you need both. Yeah.
You got me there. But if you do have a normal account, you will need 2 Invig buffers that you can cycle through that boss, and also for that reason alone, you will need him. You made a good point in Codex. He could be very good with his range. And overall, Invig is such a huge buff with the defense works. You could put him...
Think about him in Codex, right? Everyone uses Constance. No one uses Dolores. That's because Constance can get everyone in range. Dolores can't. He can get everyone in range now easily. And he's putting out a hit every second. That's right? True.
The only downside he has is the faction. But his faction is becoming very relevant quickly.
That's what I want to... That's the final point I want to make. Sorry, we're talking so much about him, but he is my favorite. Is like a lot of comments on my video were saying like, yeah, but Dolores is infernal and that's so much better. To that I say no. People are saying that because they've already progressed through stuff where they needed cultists and they don't need them anymore. Gear Aid 1, cultists. Gear Aid 4 or Gear Dungeon 1, that's cultists, right? I agree. After that, it's pretty limited and cultists have gone out of the arena meta and the PvP meta. However, there's now going to be a cultist GVG meta because of him. You can't really use inspiration. Now you can use, besides Constance, now you can use him, right? There will for sure be Morrigan teams with Bubba, and there'll be things. Clearly, they're pushing a summon meta. For all we know, that's going to make its way into PvP. You know, in Arena, he's just going to be better than Dolores for tons of stuff, to the point that, hey, maybe like a Dahlia, Virna, Cyrene, more, you know, you can already kind of see it in your head. Like, I just don't dismiss that. And then the other thing, it's like, who are you guys using? If you're using Infernals all the time, that's very interesting to me. It's like for bosses, for sure. But for me, I don't use them anywhere else. So I think it's, you got to keep in mind how the meta is constantly shifting and evolving. They're always adding new content. They're clearly pushing like a summoner thing. I think without a doubt, Cultist, I've been getting a big glow up. It's going to continue. Summoner meta things are coming, and he's going to be like the #1 hero you need for all of it.
100%. He's very, very strong. And then we have one last one we have to adjust. That is someone we haven't gone over yet.
Someone we both know, we both tested. You like her more than me though, so you can go first.
Numera. So basically Numera, now you go first, because you go first.
I think she's like good for Guild Boss 2. I think she's like very solid for Guild Boss 1. I think she's not a bad hero in any respect. To me, if you can go back to the tier list for 1 second, or the ranking list, if we were to divide these rankings into tiers, she would be with Talula. Like, for some people, she's going to be so nice and necessary and helpful, but she's not on the level of these other guys. Maybe even putting Xena at the top of that tier, where it's like, because she's more niche, but she's certainly not to the level of like Kigiri, like the Xaris, the way you've described it, and then certainly Bubba and Alex that are, I think, just truly like account monsters and like stars of your roster. She's going to be like a core piece for certain kind of accounts that are missing certain things, for things like guild bosses.
Yeah, I would even say Xena and Talula similar tier, but she is one tier lower.
If you're willing to say that, I would say that too. Yeah, I didn't know. Yeah, that's what I would say too. Yeah.
Because it's either you're the best at something or you're good at multiple things, and unfortunately for her, it's neither.
Yeah, she's like great at like a small amount of things.
Her damage is good, don't get me wrong. Her true damage is very strong. And her range is nice. Her burst is nice. Her ultimate is low cost. She has a lot of things going for her, but the damage is not like an arrogance. She's not a new arrogance from the range. She's not.
You know how I think we can put it, Ronaldo?
Yeah.
She's like, if you're like not a veteran, fully advanced account, and you get her, and she fills that need of like a ranged fighter, you will use her. But if I think anyone with like a full roster, full account, I honestly think the vast majority of people just won't use her. Because
Exactly.
like you said, she's just not like a master or anything. She's like pretty darn good at a limited number of things. So if you get her early enough on your journey, she'll be nice. But until they give her a Yovar bond skill, I don't see her getting play for developed accounts.
That's a very good point, though. Actually, because Yovar is also someone who could deserve a bond skill.
And they're the same freaking hero.
That's a very good point there. Actually, hold up, you're onto something.
You want to hear something embarrassing? In my video for her, which I really liked my video, but at one point I like quickly skimmed through her lore and I was like, it doesn't even look like they mentioned Yovar here. And she so clearly like looks just like Yovar in this and this. Yovar's mentioned like 4 times. It's like half the story.
Oh, nice.
Basically, she like killed a sacred tree in like Yovar's forest or the forest he like resides over, and then the tree like consumed her and like cursed her, but then like blessed her to become like part tree and special. And it's all with Yovar watching, and it's like they both have the flying blades around them. They both have the things coming off the head. It's so obvious they need to have the bond skill.
100%. But yeah, she is 1 tier below the others. She is strong. The others are just so they're putting out a bunch of strong heroes. That's the thing. And in the late game,
this is a nice batch of heroes. Like Numera, not counting Monk, because what a piece of trash. Numera is decidedly the worst of these top 7 that you see, and that's saying something because she's not a bad hero at all.
100%. And I think that's the list done. You have any last words? Anything you wanted to say or plug?
Nothing really to plug, but yeah, just thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun. I guess the only thing you could say is I'm sure you'll be releasing it too, but I will be testing all these heroes. For me, it will be more as they come. I think there's a sufficient content, especially like with the videos you and Destina put out. But like, once we know these banners are coming, certainly I'm sure I'll cover Kigiri. I almost said it wrong again. Kigiri endlessly leading up to his banner, which I believe is in either 2 or 3 weeks. So 2 or 3 weekends from now. So that's pretty exciting.
So make sure to check that out as well, guys. Yeah. And thanks for having me. And with that said, I wish you all...
No, thank you for having me.
It's late. It is late.
Thank you.
See you guys. Peace.